may I have your attention, please?
Okay.
No? That one's not on. Oh, get it on. I mean, not really by the time you do all that. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please? We appreciate your patience. We just wanted to let you know that the members of City Council are currently discussing a very important executive session matter. They hope to be wrapped up in about 5 minutes. So if you will just continue socializing, we should be ready to get started shortly. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Rickaman, Mr. McDowell, Mr. Duval,
Present.
Mr. Vine. Here. Mr. Davis, Mayor Benjamin.
Present. Is Mr. Rickaman going to participate via conference call? He is not, after all. Okay. Let's keep Mr. Rickaman is a bit of an iron man. He had some surgery today, and he thought he was going to participate via conference call, but I think the meds might have won that argument.
Exactly.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think you have a young Boy Scout who...
Young Mr. Season, you can come lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please. And tell us your name for the record.
I'm Marshall Season.
So happy to have you here.
Please follow me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We had a fantastic meeting with the Boy Scouts yesterday, with Doug Stone and some others speaking about the Scout Reach program. I think it'd be a mistake not to mention it with so many of our community leaders in the room. The Boy Scouts is a fantastic organization, and they've been doing a lot of great work reaching into every community across the region. So if some of you have benefited from the Boy Scouts or Cub Scouts or Girl Scouts over the course of your lives, and you think there might be an opportunity to get a troop started at your church or some organizations that you're involved in, I want to encourage you to reach out to the Boy Scouts. Young Mr. Season, we rely on your daddy every day to make decisions over here. I know that when he walks in the room, it makes us a lot more confident in the decisions we make. All right? It does. It does. Reverend McDowell, would you bless us with a prayer?
Give the words and the wisdom as we continue to expand our vision for this city. Touch us individually and collectively. We ask it in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. At this time, we have already adopted the agenda earlier during the work session, or as it began. We would ask Mayor Benjamin that we hold item number 28, and I would ask if there's any public input related to the other agenda items.
City Manager, if we did adopt the agenda earlier as a point of personal privilege, several of the council members have asked that we take up the ATAX and HTAX funding recommendations early, so
Absolutely.
so half the room can get back to their real lives and not have to spend all evening with us.
Absolutely. Would you like to do that at this time, Mr. Mayor, or would you like to approve the minutes from
Please,
April 18th?
Please. Is there a motion to approve the minutes?
So move, Mr. Mayor.
Any discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell,
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Vine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis, Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. We can take up the consent agenda as well.
Yes, sir. The consent agenda items 10 through 20.
All right. Is there a motion?
Move to approve.
I'd second the motion.
Moved and seconded. Discussion. I would note, of course, that the canal water treatment plant contract is included here, and staff has done a great job in making sure not only we get the job done, but we're under the budgeted amount, and we've exceeded the subcontractor outreach goals and the local subcontracting goal, and come pretty doggone close on the DBE goals. So I think it's worth noting there.
And I note that number 10 is the AMI infrastructure, which takes us a step closer to getting that implemented.
Yes, ma'am, and yes, sir. Thank you.
All right. Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell.
Yes.
Mr. Duval.
Aye.
Mr. Vine.
Aye.
Mr. Davis. Mayor Benjamin.
Aye. And we'll go ahead and step into the ATAX and ATAX presentation.
Absolutely. Ms. Gober will lead you all through that presentation at this time.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My job is easy tonight because I'm just going to introduce the two chairmen of these two committees and let them do their presentation to you. But I did want to ask Council for one amendment on the spreadsheets. On the spreadsheet, number 40, under the accommodations tax, is 1.891, it should be 1.889. It's a $2,000 discrepancy. In the budget that you're about to approve, that was the figure, so that's what we need to go with. So number 40 will be 1,889 instead of 1,891. $2,000 less. That's the correction that I need you to make. And I wanted to tell council, I want to say this publicly. I've said it privately to many of you, plus I've said it to a lot of people here. But these committees did a yeoman's job this year, especially the Hospitality Committee, and I know a lot of them are here. On the fourth full day of meeting, on a Friday afternoon at 5:30, they were still sitting there crunching numbers. So they really got into the weeds on a lot of this and did an excellent, excellent job in making their recommendations to you. And now I will introduce, first we'll do the accommodations tax, because hopefully that will be a little easier. Hal Stevenson is the chairman of that committee, and then after him, John Whitehead, chairman of the Hospitality Advisory Committee, will come up. Hal?
Thank you, Libby. Mr. Mayor, members of council, the Accommodations Tax Committee met over lunch before and after. Of course, you know we consider both Experience Columbia and Lake Murray Country as part of our deliberations. Our recommendation to cut money from the Lake Murray Country was based on two things. One, I think, was incomplete information that we got that I subsequently went out to meet with Miriam and those out there to check out some particular issues that some of our committee members were concerned with. And so I found that perhaps that was just not good information on our part. But the major part of making a recommendation had to do with just how impressed we are with Experience Columbia and the work they're doing. And I think we wanted to mainly make a statement that we think they need to be funded at a higher level in some way at some time, and wanted to be able to communicate that to you guys as a council. But that recommendation is $200,000 for the Lake Murray Country and 1,889 for the Experience Columbia.
Thank you, Hal. Mr. Davis.
Mayor, I'm recommending that we restore the cut to Lake City, Cap City, Lake Murray, given the volume and the number.
Lake Murray.
Yeah, the volume of the dollars that they do bring in. I think it's justified that they stay at last year's level.
Ms. Devine?
Well, if he's a motion, I'm not seconding his motion. I have another question, but is there a second?
I will second his motion.
Okay. And I guess my question, and then we'll kind of go to Sam's point. My question really was going to be, Libby, if we anticipated any surplus in A-tax this year, and whether or not there's some ability to make a consideration at that point as far as a different allocation. And I'll say what I say for everything, and I guess I'll make the statement. This goes to A-tax and H-tax. Everyone knows I say it every year. You know, I have a lot of heartburn on changing the committee's recommendations for the mere fact, to echo what Libby said, the amount of time that they spend on these applications, on doing interviews, crunching numbers, and they really take the politics and who knows who out of the process. And so I really value the way they do this, and I love Lake Murray, and I love Miriam, and I think they do some awesome things, and I would love to see some money restored, especially considering Hal has acknowledged that maybe it was just some not having the information at the time, or maybe misunderstanding of the information. But I also think that, you know, as he indicated, that was only a part of their rationale. And I think that this committee certainly would understand and acknowledges the contributions that Lake Murray makes to the city. But I do think that they've gone through an extraordinary process of being able to see these presentations, especially year after year, and come back with some recommendations. So I'm not going to support changing the recommendation. However, I would like to strongly encourage the committee to be able to look back with any surplus dollars, and Libby can answer if we anticipate there will be some, but look back at seeing whether or not there is surplus funds, and instead of, as in the past, splitting it at the same percentage, looking at restoring Lake Murray with those surplus dollars.
You may not remember, but last year at this time, you all voted to give all the surplus that will be coming up June 30th to our CVB, Experience Columbia now. So they will get all of that. And Hal is going to make a recommendation in his closing remarks about the surplus for this year. So to answer your question, there would not be that opportunity this year for them to have more money.
Where is Capital City Lake Murray this current year? What's the allocation?
290 is what it was last year.
290.
It'd be
Okay.
90,000.
290, and this year is 200. I think Mr. Davis is suggesting
Right, so
different.
Mr. Davis's motion is to hold them harmless, hold them at 290, and obviously our previous decision for all surplus to still go to the CVB. All right?
It will for this year, but now moving forward into the year you're voting on, Hal, I think will make that recommendation.
Again, I think that what I would say, we had some deliberation about the excess that could come up and discuss that. And one of the things, frankly, I think we need to do on the committee is we need to go visit and have a little more time to research, because we, unlike the hospitality committee, which takes a lot of presentations from a lot of people, so I think we will want to try to change that a little bit this coming year. And I think that the recommendation that I would make, I don't think the committee would have any problem with Councilman Davis's motion. I do think that I would recommend that the excess go to the CVB. We have no idea how much that's going to be. Maybe Libby does, but we think that with all that Columbia is doing, we're hoping it's growing, it's going to exceed, and the CVB is doing a really fantastic job. And so we would like to see, that would be our recommendation, to have the excess go to them and to, well, I'm speaking for the committee. I don't see any of my other committee members here, so.
So you're saying the committee wouldn't have a problem with changing the recommendation to
For the
make it
council
whole?
doing that, I know that sometimes is a problem, like you said and brought up, changing what a committee recommends, but having been in our committee meeting and having gone and looked at some of the comments that were brought up by the committee, I went out and visited Capital City Lake Murray to investigate directly some of the things that maybe didn't come out in the short time we had with them. So I guess I'm saying as a chairman, I don't think that would be a problem. I do think the committee would say they would want the excess to go to the CVB or Experience Columbia.
Thank
Do we
you.
know, what's that excess this year? So how much more is CVB getting or anticipated to get at the close of this year?
Last year it was 299,000.
Mr. McDowell,
Well, it's obvious to me that because of the volume of things that we've had to do in terms of HTACs, and the bottom line now, which sort of equals zero based on where we are right now. Some of those organizations, of course, the requested amount, of course, we did not do. What we tried to do, and I think what the committee tried to do, was to at least give a real good flavor and appetite for that particular organization. I understand that, but I also understand that there are organizations that really need some money, that's doing an exquisite job in our city. The recommendations are before us, but I also understand that if other dollars roll in, we've talked about one time, and we've done it one time, and I think since I've been here, that we did some prioritization. And I don't really want to call it prioritization, but it was, we sort of placed some organizations, when those monies came in, we placed some priority and some importance on that. I buy into what Sam has suggested, but I also would want us to really consider the whole issue of prioritization as we look at the next funding cycle for HTAC dollars. Is that?
Yes. You know, again, I don't want to speak for all the committee members, but having sat in that, I think that the sense of the committee is we want the folks that are spending A-tax, both at Capital City and at the Experience Columbia, to really focus on the whole area and set up the way that it is. And I know that both of those organizations work really closely together, and we feel like that restoring funding in the way and the manner in which Sam has suggested, it would not be objectionable.
Just one final comment on that. You know, I find myself again this year just looking at the smaller groups or the groups that are not moving at all. And my reasoning for this, again, most people don't know that, but Capital City brings in a hell of a lot of money to this region, to this area. And it's a good workhorse. We know how much they put in that pot. So hopefully, we continue to let them do that. Some of the smaller groups and those that don't get to that level, the dollars they will bring in will help them receive more money on an annual basis. I think they do a good job.
Fantastic. Well, we're going to keep it moving. Mr. Davis, just in the interest of restating your motion, moves approval of the ATAX funding, restoring Capital City Lake Murray to $290,000 and restating our commitment that all excess funds from FY 16-17 go to the Convention and Visitors Bureau Experience Columbia.
So that would be an amendment to his motion, or is he adding that?
Has to be. That's
Right.
has to be. That's your motion.
I will accept that.
With that amendment, I can support it.
All right. That's a second, Ms. Devine. With the previous question, clerk call the roll. And Hal, thank you guys so much. You guys do the work that.
Well, I'm just glad I'm not John Whitehead, is all I can say.
With the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye. Chairman Whitehead. Chairman in perpetuity.
Mayor Benjamin, members of council, thank you for giving us the opportunity to present the hospitality spreadsheets to you. And we have members of the hospitality committee with us tonight, and I'd like them to stand and be recognized, please.
Thank y'all. Thank you, John.
Thank you. On the spreadsheets, and they're in front of you, we gave very concise reasons as to why organizations may not have received funding, or why they got an increase, or why they even got a decrease in other places. And the funding level that we got last year for committee to allocate is the same amount that we got this year. And this year, not only did we have more applicants, but we wanted to make sure that we maintained what we had done in the past, is look at the smaller organizations and be able to spread the money out throughout the community, that we didn't just concentrate on one area. We recognized what the city has done with the H-Tax dollar, and that is reinvest it throughout the community. So we stuck to that pretty heavily, that we wanted to make sure that we recognized the good works, not only arts and culture, but also community enrichment programs that are so important to making the city what it really is today and continues to grow and become a greater and greater city for all of us in which to live. We do prioritize, and we look at the smaller ones, as Mr. McDowell was suggesting and Mr. Davis, so that a $200 investment or a $300 or a $2,000 investment in some of these small organizations is like $50,000 or $100,000 to some of the larger ones. So we take that into account as we interview them, review their budgets, and go over their eligible expenditures. And as a committee, we also work with them in any way possible, giving them the opportunity to meet with us either before or after the application process time. And we're very lucky, and the city is very lucky, to have the staff support through Dee Dee and through Libby that we do. It really helps us as a committee to make the decisions and to review things the way they should be. I'd like to point out that if an organization this year did have 2 or 3 applications, that the committee looked at it as a lump sum allocation to that presenting an applicant, and then left it up to their board of directors to determine how they would allocate the funds. Because our funds as a committee were very limited. So we left the option of how to divide what monies we were giving to, say, one of the neighborhood associations, as to prioritize that for themselves as to how they were going to be able to spend it.
That's great.
And if you have any questions, We'd be happy to answer them. And as I said, there is a one-liner on each of the recommendations through the spreadsheet.
Thank you, John. And thank you to the committee for your work. We really don't envy you guys and the work you have to do. We got a couple of, I guess, one motion I'm going to make in its entirety. As I mentioned to you right before we started, John, we approved the committee recommendations wholesale. I mean, so we appreciate the work that you all are doing. Have a couple of changes from rollover funds from this fiscal year. There are some funds available, and we're going to take the Renaissance Foundation prospectively out of this budget and restate our full commitment to making that project happen. There's some fantastic meetings that I know Mr. McDowell has been leading with the folks over there to make that project a reality, and we're excited about what's happening there. But I have about a dozen changes. I'm going to roll them all into one motion and ask for a second, and we'll get going.
I'd like to again thank you for all that you do and for the faith and trust that you put in the committee, because we really think that we are fair in the way we look at everything, and have done it.
We're doing a great job. Great job.
John, let me say this. I appreciate the time and the effort that you've put into that committee. And we've had a number of conversations. I think that we, through this process, we're better off because of your participation. And I still rely on you to help us through all of this. And that's what it takes. And I appreciate the committee's consideration and the committee's work. So there's, we're all in this together, but from time to time, we just kind of chit chat.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so appreciate it.
Mr. McDowell?
Thank you. No, I'm fine.
Okay, thank you. All right. This will be in the form of a motion. Move approval of the hospitality tax committee funding recommendation amounts with the exception of the appropriation for the Renaissance Foundation, which we'll take care of through separate matter. I ask for additional funding from rollover funds and from the $75,000 appropriated for Renaissance Foundation previously by council. Historic Columbia, for the Columbia SC 63, the Ward 1 Museum of $20,000. To the Divine Nine, $10,000. To the High School Football Championship, $4,000. Additional funding of $2,500 to the Eau Claire Festival, $25,000 to the South Carolina State Museum, $12,500 to the Girl Scouts Mountains to Midlands Project, $2,000 to the C.A. Johnson Alumni Festival, $15,000 to Black Pages International, an additional $1,500 North Carolina NCBA Cornbread Festival, $25,000 to the Marching Band National Championship, an additional $2,500 to the Miss Naturally Crowned event.
And the Naturally Crowned event, I think, is going through No Money Inc.
No Money Inc. Yes, No Money Inc. Yes, ma'am. Is there a second?
Second.
Yes, I did. Move the previous question or discussion. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye. And we anticipate, as you all always know, that there will be opportunities over this fiscal year where some additional funds may be available, and we'll leave that to Ms. Goldberg and Mr. Whitehead to figure that out, how we move forward on additional funds for organizations. Again, I want to state to all the organizations that applied, we feel very good about the process the committee's been going through. Nothing's perfect. I never want to confuse the perfect and make it the enemy of the good, but we really appreciate the hard work that the committee is doing and really want to encourage everyone to continue to stay involved in this. We'll get better and better as we move forward. And I think I said aye. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. At this time, we can pick back up with our budget ordinances, second reading, item 21, ordinance number 2017-044, amending the 1998 Code of Ordinances of the City of Columbia, South Carolina, Chapter 23, Utilities and Engineering, Article 5, Water and Sewer Rates, for the water service rates and sewer service rates.
Well, no one spoke at the public input section. We did have at least one citizen who did sign up to speak on the issue, so I want to make sure that we, are Mr. Matthews here? Mr. Matthews, please, I will give you an opportunity to speak. Missed your window earlier, but didn't want to deny you the right to have something to say. Please,
Pardon me?
please.
Okay. I have a hard time. I put my hearing aids on special for this, and I still can't hear real well.
Yes, sir, it's okay.
With this speaker. In either case, yes, I came here for the purpose of speaking about the rate increase for the water and the also questioning the necessity of the water meters, the new water meters. I have a hard time understanding, and I know I should have been studying more. The newspapers gave us a brief description of all what's going on all the time, but never enough to get exactly the same information that's actually you guys have. Okay, so I can't really ask enough questions, but I talked with Mr. Joey Jaco about a lot of things several times. The first time, last Tuesday, Wednesday, when they had the first meeting for this,
Yes, sir.
and I didn't have time enough to study what I wanted to study. And so I grabbed a copy of your budget that he gave me a copy of to try to understand it better, exactly what was going to be happening and the reasons why the rate increase occurred, okay? And what I was trying to understand was, first of all, just in general, that you still have, and I got this from Mr. Jaco, that you still have EPA requirements that are in the works, and there's money still required for that. And then I remember reading about you needed to raise the rates because of that, and then there was something about, oh, we can't do that, we shouldn't do that, back and forth. And all that from the last time I was here, actually it was about the same thing. I don't know if you remember me. But in either case, it's real hard for me to understand exactly why you're trying to put in more cost when you need more rate increase, more cost for the meters. Okay? And so I'm thinking, somehow you magically came up with money. Well, you raised the rates and you also added the flood fees and all that, but why add more costs with the meters when you haven't finished paying off what is required by the EPA, which is undefined as far as I understand? The state newspaper, which I try to follow religiously, didn't spell that out, and I'm going to look more if I have time, exactly what those EPA requirements are, and you guys know what they are, more than I do. Mr. Jaco knows, I don't know. But I don't know whether or not all the money is required to pay that off has already been ascertained, and whether or not you need more consideration about taking care of that before you take on new things with these meters.
Sure.
And these meters sound wonderful. Oh, they sound great. You know, oh, we get customer service is going to be better. Well, some of the things I was looking at in the budget, which is not very clear at all, they have a customer service line in this water and sewer operation fund summary under budget, and it says the customer service center has got a 67% increase of budget requirements. I asked Mr. Joey Jaco about that, and he said, well, that's because we're transferring employees and adding new staff. And I said, is that because of the meters? And he said, no, that's not because of that. So I don't know what exactly that's all about, but there's an additional cost. The 67%, is it 67%? Yeah, 67% more cost for that. And I thought, if anything, just in general, that these meters, since they're supposed to be so automatic,
Yes,
there'd be an outrageous cost savings.
Yeah.
And of course, that probably won't be realized for years.
Sure, thank you, Mr. Matthews. I'd be happy, time's up, I'd be happy to answer the specific question you asked, and, but, are you done?
Oh, no, I didn't know I had a time limit.
Oh, yes, you did, yes, you did, yes, sir, yes, sir.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I'm against the meters,
Okay,
I'm
yes,
against the
sir.
rate increases.
Duly
but I don't think
noted.
They're justified.
Yes, sir, duly noted. Yes, sir. Thank you.
I didn't hear that part. I don't do this every day.
Absolutely. No, it's a pleasure to have you here. No, we are, and I did want to make sure since he signed up that Mr. Matthews had a chance to speak. You can speak to Mr. Jaco. He can get forehead deep in our responsibility to make sure we continue to improve our wastewater system, and certainly, obviously, the need to continue to rebuild and expand our water system to meet the needs not just of the city, but people across the entire region, a growing region. As it relates to the advanced metering infrastructure and what that represents, I believe it truly represents the future of the city. And this is not for response. It's okay. It's okay. We can talk later on if you want to talk. Yes, sir. Absolutely. And I would expect you to prepare for a unanimous vote to move forward with the advanced metering infrastructure. Yes, sir. But the ability to not only engage in conservation, but for every citizen in here and or ratepayer in here to be able to know exactly how much more they're using, if there's any potential for waste in the system or breaks in the system, to know it immediately for to provide the backbone of new smart city infrastructure that's going to allow us, yes, not just deliver better customer service, but a much more enhanced customer experience, allow us to save water, this precious resource that is limited, although some people don't believe that it is, represents a huge opportunity, not just for the municipal corporation as a city, but for the citizens and the ratepayers we represent. It's a move in the right direction, and I do believe that over the next several years, as AMI is implemented across the region, you'll be happy with your experience. I hope to have the same conversation with you in a few years. But thank you for coming and participating, Madam City Manager. All right, is there a motion?
Move approval.
All right. Move Mr. Duval, second by Ms. McDowell. We'll move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll on item 21.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Item 22, ordinance number 2017.
City Manager,
Yes, sir.
point of personal privilege,
Yes, sir.
Mayor.
Yes, sir.
Mayor, I had a call this morning from Mrs. Mary Easterlin, who does not live in the city of Columbia. She lives in the northeast area. She is now my new best friend. I found out in teaching and talking to her this morning, she taught school with my mother near Cheraw in Wallace, South Carolina. She's been working with Palmetto Richland for 35 years. She was concerned about the water rates too. I told her I thought it was going to be a unanimous vote tonight, but I'm delighted she showed up tonight so I could put a face with the lovely voice I talked to this morning. Ms. Easton, would you stand up, please?
You put her on the spot. And I guess for that, I know we said it last week and we've said it a couple times, but the fact that there might be some new people here, what I would again encourage everyone to do is participate in our rate calculator, so that people know what it actually means for their bill. And I think hearing, 4.75%, it seems very abstract, but when you actually go in and put it into the calculator, you'll know exactly what that means to you. And so I just encourage people to do that.
Absolutely. Item 22, ordinance number 2017-049, amending the 1998 Code of Ordinances of the City of Columbia, South Carolina, Chapter 23, Utilities and Engineering, Article 7, Stormwater Management, for our stormwater service charge rates.
Move approval.
Is there a second? Second. Discussion. Seeing none, move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Item 23, ordinance number 2017-048, to raise the revenue and adopt the budget for the City of Columbia, South Carolina for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2018.
So move.
Second.
All right, any discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
I want to give a sincere thank you, Mayor Benjamin and council, for you all's attentiveness and guidance as we made it through this budget process. I think the mayor probably said it best last week when he mentioned it was not, I know I'm proud too, but he said he was most proud of not just the product, but the process. And we appreciate that very much.
Got to easily be our most efficient year yet.
I agree.
Mr. Davis.
Just to close out this, but I would encourage my other colleagues to comment. I agree with the city manager. This has been a process, and I think you as my colleagues know that usually I come to this point kind of kicking and screaming. But the one thing that has stood out over the past few years has been the city's experience. There's some challenges that we had nothing to do with, the citizens had nothing to do with, and as a result of that, it has left an everlasting impact on all of us, and as a result of that, we've had to make some decisions, and that is to try to make us whole and take us back to where we were and help us to become this type of city that we want to be. And the people who live here, people who are going to come here, won't be able to enjoy this city and whatever amenities that we try to create unless they can enjoy the environment, they can enjoy the infrastructure, and that their quality of life where they live is good. And that is what these decisions will help us do, will get us to the point where we've got to deal with the aftermath of 2 storms. Nobody anticipated that. I sure didn't. In fact, lost my son's car in my backyard, flooded out. But that is an experience, and everybody's experience has been different. But it does make sense when the gentleman talked about the meters, that we operate a system as efficiently as we can, and that there's something there that the people who pay the bills can understand, get as accurate a reading as possible on what their costs are, and that's the way you do it all over the world. So I supported the budget. I supported the 3 actions we took because it's important, it's necessary, and we have to make sure that the public safety system we have remains the best in the Southeast. And we know we've got the best officers because people are coming after them, they're being recruited. And so we owe them the best that we can give them in terms of their ability to do their job, their ability to support the families, and their ability to continue to show that it's worth the choice they made to work for the city of Columbia and the citizens. So with that, I'm saying that this time around, I think we made the best choice. And it's long-lasting. It's not an overnight decision we made. The work and restoring where we were and where we want to go is going to take a good while, but we have the foundation to do it.
All right, fantastic. Again, congratulations. I think you guys have done a really good job. Staff's done a fantastic job. Would you provide some liberties? And I know there's a big day tomorrow. The Comment's got a huge announcement tomorrow, and I know that Ms. August is here, and probably want to give us a little preview of that. If we allow the executive director of the Comment.
Absolutely.
Please.
That's item 27, the introduction of Ms. Ann Dawson August, our interim executive director of the Comment.
And Ms. Wilson, as Ms. August is coming up, I just wanted to just say, Mr. Duvall and I had the pleasure of 2 people who are active in the Riders Association come to our open house last week, actually in two separate meetings. They didn't come together and didn't know what each other were going to say, but I would say both of them sang Ms. August's praises and really are excited about her leadership and felt that she certainly is the right person there and is really putting the riders first. And so just wanted to share that with you, that you have the confidence of the riders, and I've heard nothing but wonderful things about you, and I'm so glad to have you here.
Well, thank you
Absolutely.
to the mayor and the council members and to the citizens in the room. I would like to thank you, first of all, for giving me the opportunity to come before you. To say I am humbled by the experience this coming here to serve Columbia in this capacity. I've been in transit 37 years and served in the capacity of the executive director in Birmingham from 2012 to 2015, and in Sumter for 15 years over the transit system there. Transit is a passion. Either you love it or you hate it. I happen to love knowing that people have mobility options, and we want to be able to expand those options. We're in the process of putting another 39 vehicles into service between now and the end of August. Tomorrow, we're going to be having a ribbon cutting, and everybody's invited to come over to 3613 Lucius Road at 11 o'clock tomorrow morning when we unveil the new buses. We have actually about 6 of them on the street now. You might can't pay that much attention to them, but it's going to have a lot of technology, and hopefully you saw the state newspaper on Saturday, and WLTX came and did actually an interview today, this afternoon, about 4:30, regarding the buses as well. But we're trying to change the experience that the riders have, and I promised Ms. Marsha Johnson that I'm going to be going on the bus with her, riding the bus. I grew up in Philadelphia, even though I'm originally from the little small town of Rembert, South Carolina, if you know where that is, but spent 39 years in Philadelphia. So all you had to do was ride a bus. You couldn't afford a car or the insurance, and if you did, your parents wouldn't allow you to drive it anyway. So riding the bus, going everywhere you went, from bowling to the movies and out on dates. So the bus gives you an experience to be able to see things you cannot see when you're driving your car. And I drive in from Sumter every day, so I see a lot of single occupancy vehicles. And hopefully one day you will see rail coming from Sumter to Columbia, from Columbia to Greenville, and from, of course, Columbia to Rock Hill and Charlotte. That should be a goal that you set, to be able to have those mobility options so people can get around and leave their cars at home if they don't have to drive them.
Absolutely.
So I say thank you, and hopefully I'll see you all tomorrow. Thank you. Unless you have any questions.
No, big announcement tomorrow. You guys probably saw the report, but bunch of new energy efficient buses, Wi-Fi, power plugs, ability apps, the stuff.
Well, you grow in the city, so you got to grow the transit system too.
We love it, and we share your commitment to rail as well. I think that's with the significant growth the metropolitan area is going to see over the next several years. Lots of possibilities there. We've put a little bit of sweat equity into it, but
That's right.
we got some leaps that we still have to take. So thank you.
Not a problem.
Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
At this time, Mayor Benjamin, we will welcome Mr. Clint Shealy, Director of Utility Operations, to announce the May 2017 Employee of the Month, Mr. Christopher Lampkin, one of our maintenance coordinators.
All right.
Good evening, and thank you. It's my distinct pleasure to introduce Mr. Christopher Lampkin. Chris, if you'll please come up, and his supervisor, Gordon Alexander. They both work at the Canal Water Treatment Plant. Chris was nominated by Gordon for his exemplary service and his leadership of our maintenance group at the Canal Water Treatment Plant. He's taking care of a lot of equipment at our 111-year-old treatment facility and is going to help us shepherd us as we move forward through this large construction project coming forward. His leadership, it's not just his leadership, it's the way that Chris leads. He leads with honesty, integrity, his open communication with all the staff at the treatment plant, just really help foster that family atmosphere that we have there, and he's really a big part of that, and just a really genuine, very, very good employee and a good person, just a great man. So He's shown great initiative, helping us implement a new maintenance management system this past year. He was recognized as the 2016 Water Environment Association Capital District Maintenance Person of the Year, and he understands the importance of clean, safe drinking water, and he's dedicated to helping us produce that every day. So, Chris, you have congratulations and my sincere thanks for all you do.
Don't go yet, 'cause this is the fun part, and at least get to give you a small token, Chris. And you know, for me, I'm always excited about recognizing our employees who are touching our communities on a daily basis like you do and take pleasure in it, so thank you. Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You're welcome. Mayor Benjamin, as you take your seat, we have two exceptional employees to recognize this evening. Our June 2017 Employee of the Month will be recognized by Deputy Chief Kelly with the Columbia Police Department, Ms. Perlina Williams-Burke, Executive Assistant to the Chief of Police.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. Ms. Perlina Williams-Burke has been employed with the City of Columbia for over 32 years. 26 of those years have been with the Columbia Police Department. She's held numerous administrative assignments throughout the department during her many years of service. In October 2014, after a competitive interview process, Ms. Williams-Burke was selected to be the permanent executive assistant for the Chief of Police. A leadership transition at the top of any law enforcement organization can be difficult and stressful, especially when law enforcement comes from an outside agency. Of course, Chief Holbrook came from West Virginia in 2014, and Ms. Williams-Burke helped us through that transition. She's been a stalwart confidant, competitor in terms of making sure the chief's schedule is top-notch. I get all the meetings that he doesn't take. And, independent of this, Ms. Williams-Burke has completed her degree at the University of South Carolina, and she's continued to be very active in the Toastmasters here in Columbia as well. Simply stated by Chief Holbrook, he says that he could not do his job without her, and it's for those reasons that we nominated her for June's Employee of the Month.
Absolutely.
Pleasure also being with us because you so deserve it between dealing with me trying to get to the chief and everybody else. You do it with grace, and we thank you for what you do. Go get your hair done, nails done, something. I know you like to do those things. Mr. Mayor, we want to recognize Ms. Burke's better half is in the room, our former employee here at the City of Columbia Police Department too, served for many years, so thank you for joining your lovely wife.
I'm gonna tell you, they go to my church, and I honestly didn't make that connection.
Really? Well, now you know, Mr. Fine. It runs in their family, runs very deep, the love for the police department. We also have the Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month proclamation, the Honorable Mayor Stephen K. Benjamin.
I
Obviously, June is National Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month in the United States of America, and we recognize that more than 5 million people in the U.S. are currently affected by Alzheimer's disease, making the most common form of dementing illness. In South Carolina, Alzheimer's is the 6th leading cause of death. We've seen a 122% increase in Alzheimer's deaths since 2000. We recognize that an increase in public awareness about Alzheimer's disease and the Alzheimer's Association may stimulate the interest and concern of the American people, which certainly should lead in increased research and eventually to the discovery of a cure for the disease. So it's our honor to hereby proclaim the month of June 2017 to be Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month in the City of Columbia, and we urge our fellow citizens to recognize and participate in its observance. All right?
Thank you, Mayor and council members. We are grateful for the proclamation. June as Alzheimer's and Brain Awareness Month is an important month, but sometimes gets overlooked. Our seniors that have this disease can sometimes seem to fade into the background as we move on with our daily lives, but for those families that are facing this disease, it's very hard to forget. There are 86,000 individuals in South Carolina alone who have Alzheimer's disease, and 304,000 of them are caregivers. I am one of 304,000. My grandmother has Alzheimer's, and I work to try and find a cure so that other granddaughters like I do don't have to say the long goodbye that I'm having to say to her now. Having you recognize this month makes such an impact to the families that are facing this, to know that their elected officials recognize and support them through this battle. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. I didn't see him do.
Mayor Benjamin, as we work our way through items 29 through 31, we would ask that you ask for public input for each of those items. Item 29 is the Walkable 29203 pedestrian plan, requesting adoption of the Walkable 29203 plan as an addendum to the City of Columbia's comprehensive plan transportation element.
Motion?
The public hearing.
I'm sorry. Public input. Is
I
anyone here to
think we
speak in
have
favor
a
of or
yes,
against? Do you want
sir.
is there a presentation you want to go through?
There is a
Okay.
presentation.
Yes, sir, and then
All right.
public input, Mr.
All right.
Mayor.
Thank you.
But I'm glad you're excited.
And we're supportive.
Well, that's wonderful. So Mayor Benjamin, members of council, I'm so glad to be here tonight to talk about the Walkable 29203 plan. This is a plan that is the best possible kind of plan. It was a gift plan from DHEC via a grant from the CDC. So we were so excited to be a part of that partnership, and another great partnership with Richland County Planning as well, as they partnered on this. The 29203 zip code, which is the map here, is a zip code that has both incorporated and unincorporated areas of Richland County. So you've got the City of Columbia, the North Main corridor, but you've also got some areas that are more rural and would suffer from different issues. But for the DHEC project, this is the only zip code that they picked. The rest of the 16 areas that they picked were specific cities and other municipal areas, because the 29203 zip code suffers disproportionately for a number of health statistics. So this is an area where 32.2% of the population lives below the poverty level. It's an area where 2.5% walk to work, but 28% of the residents are within a 15-minute commute. So there's a large potential for growth in walking. We have almost 3% of the residents in this area that commute via public transportation, so via the Comet. And that's well above the county rate and well above the state rate as well. So we're happy y'all are out there. And there's about 7.3% of the households in this area
do not have access to personal vehicles, which is 3 times higher than the county rate as a whole. So this is an area that really suffers, or really is in need of good walkable infrastructure.
Well, absolutely. This plays directly into Ms. August's focus at the comment. We're talking about mobility and recognizing the way that people move. Sometimes it's a lifestyle change, and sometimes it's a necessity. And hopefully, we hope to make it a lifestyle change for a whole lot more people, and certainly those. Encouraging more people to live healthier, longer lives by walking and biking and making it easy and easier for folks to do so is important. So, do any citizens who want to speak in favor of or against or about this plan? Is there a motion?
So move.
Moving second, discussion. Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Mayor, I did. It's not really a discussion specifically on the 29203 plan, but just walk bike generally. And I know my colleagues and I received an email yesterday from former Councilwoman Sinclair, and I've met with some of the folks from BPAC. And in this year's budget that we just approved, there is money in there for a transportation planner that will help us with the implementation of the walk bike plan. But one of the concerns, I guess, that has been bubbling among the walking and biking community is just making sure that this stays on the forefront. So I just wanted to, just point out that, this is just another part. This is specific on 29203, but this is another part showing that, we are committed to connectivity throughout the city and certainly making sure that our city is walkable and bikeable. But I will say that, we as a council need to make sure that we move maybe probably a little bit quicker than in some implementing some projects. I know that there are some low-hanging fruit in the walk bike plan, and as we do the comprehensive plan and get someone on board, we'll have some help in helping us get some things implemented. But I did want to share that the discussion out there is I wouldn't necessarily say questioning our commitment, but just saying that people recognize we have a lot of competing interests, and maybe they've been forgotten because they haven't been as squeaky. So I've told them that we are committed, and this is just another example of how we're committed.
Thank you, Ms. Devine. Secondary motion. All right. City Manager.
Item 30, ordinance number 2017-045, amending the 1998 Code of Ordinances of the City of Columbia, South Carolina, Chapter 6, Elections, Section 6.5, Filing Fees.
So move.
Second.
Oh, I'm sorry, public hearing.
Public hearing. Is anyone here to speak in favor of or against this item? Ms. Devine?
So move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Item 31, resolution number R 2017-054, public input on closing and transfer of an unopened portion of Willow Street, formerly Pine Street, containing approximately .39 acres of an acre located between Richland County and the following TMS numbers.
I was waiting to see you work your way through that one. Is anyone here to speak in favor of or against this? Saying none, is there a motion?
Move in favor of the motion.
Second.
Moving second. Any discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Moving into a period of ordinance first reading, item 32, annexation, interim comprehensive plan map amendment, and interim zoning map amendment for 150 Bluff Road, 152 Bluff Road, 154, 154A, 156, and 164 Bluff Road, 1003 Hamrick Street, 1007 Hamrick, as well as 1011 Hamrick Street.
Move approval.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? We'll move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Item 33, ordinance number 2017-061, repealing encroachment ordinance number 2014-008, granting an encroachment to Mainstream 5 Lofts LLC, Capitol Places, for placement of a flame-shaped steel sculpture with concrete foundation within the sidewalk right-of-way area adjacent to 1644 Main Street.
Is that just a piece of public art didn't deliver, didn't happen, or?
I believe we have to put it on here in order for it to be utilized, the space to be utilized again for this particular piece. And that is to change it.
Okay, repeal
Yes,
and
sir.
grant. I apologize.
So the
Okay.
same space,
I
different
saw
piece.
repeal. Okay.
Yes, sir.
All right, is there a motion?
So moved.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Well, with the previous question, clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis?
Aye.
Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Resolutions, item 34, resolution number R 2017-058, support establishing community-wide target of powering the city of Columbia, South Carolina with 100% clean, renewable energy by 2036.
All right, I have, we can get there. It's exciting. I do want to make one amendment to this, that we're establishing a 20-year target. So I delete the word support in the title paragraph, and also delete support and edit establishing to establish with those edits. Is there a motion?
So you're moving that
We're establishing a 20-year target. Yes, sir. All right.
So move with amendment.
Is there a second? Moving second, discussion. We're excited about this, and regardless of what might emanate via tweet from the White House, we are making it clear that all across this country, indeed across the world, that our commitment to reducing greenhouse gas emissions, if it be from the Comet in little old Columbia, South Carolina, to our collective efforts as citizens, as government and small businesses, and we can still make a huge difference regardless of what happens from the White House. Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis? Mayor Benjamin?
Aye. Thank you.
One. And one appointment this evening, Mayor Benjamin, an additional individual to the Food Policy Committee.
All right. Ms. Belton?
Council is asked to appoint Ms. Brenna Burdine. Councilman Rickham has asked that she be added to the policy.
Oh, Brenna. Yeah.
Yes.
Works for
So
Fast
moved.
Forward.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Move the previous question. Clerk, call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Ms. Devine?
Aye.
Mr. Davis? Mayor Benjamin?
Aye.
Ms. Belton, I talked with some of the appointees this week. They gotten the notification that they've been appointed. Do we don't know when they will have their first meeting?
I do not. The staff liaison will be in charge of setting that meeting, but I will reach out to them on tomorrow.
Okay.
To get clarity.
Okay, great.
I think Ms. Lauren Harper is going to be helping staff that committee, Ms. Devine. So I know Ms. Moore is going to keep us all on track with getting these meetings scheduled. And with that, Mayor Benjamin, you all do not have any matters from the work session. I'm not sure if you have any referrals for committee.
Question, Mayor.
Yes, sir.
We had on the schedule a meeting for the 27th, and since we've been real good tonight, can we?
So diligent.
Yeah, that threw
So
me off
diligent.
too. I thought we'd
It
already.
was just there in case you all needed it, but Staff does not need it,
So
Mr.
because
Duvall.
it's not there, we all right?
So we're
Yes, sir.
we're formally stating we will not have a meeting on the 27th.
That's correct, yes, sir. And
Don't smile too hard. It's gonna.
And then if I could ask if Ms. Moore, Ms. Daniels will coordinate with the members of the Environment and Infrastructure Committee so we can meet, and I'd like for us to actually bring forward the walk bike master plan to talk about infrastructure that's needed and maybe some low-hanging fruit and what we can propose to council to make some movement on.
Absolutely. If we have none other referrals, we do have at least one citizen who's trying to speak. Anything else for the good of the order? No other motions? Ms. Cynthia Vaughns? Yes, ma'am. Madam Clerk?
This is my first time coming up here, so I'm kind of nervous, but
Don't be nervous.
I am here as a concerned citizen about the lack of communication between the county and the city departments. I am the person who has been calling and emailing about that lot on Broad River Road and Beatty Road that was cut this morning. But it appears that every time this lot needs to be cut or other properties on Broad River Road around where I live at, I have to call 40,000 numbers in order to get the right entity, in order to get things done. And I feel like as a citizen of Columbia, if I call for a department and it is not your department, it should intermix. You should be able to tell me who to call, not call all these numbers, okay, in order to get something done for the citizens that live in my neighborhood. Okay, it should be, if I call and it's in the county, please send me to the correct person in the county. It's everybody is passing the buck. So that's why I'm here.
Yes, ma'am. You don't seem too nervous to me. You seem downright comfortable.
I have emailed the city manager, I have emailed you, I have called everyone.
I know it's been cut. Is it city or county lot? Where's the lot? It's a lot.
They
Okay.
cut it this morning.
All right. Well, you need. I'm gonna give you Robert Anderson's cell phone number and his home number. He has a bat phone right next to his pillow that he keeps. That's just for these issues.
Okay.
So,
And
yes, ma'am.
that's not just for, you know, the maintenance of the
Yes,
grounds or whatever. I'm talking about the police department as well.
Yes, ma'am.
You know, because some people live in the city, some people live in the county. If you call the police and you live in the wrong neighborhood, they should patch you right through.
Ma'am, I promise you are preaching to the choir. It's a discussion that we had ad nauseum ourselves earlier today, wanting to see much more cohesion and conversation and communication between the city and the county. In some places, it's flawless. In others, it's not as much. In some places, we share services. Some things we manage for them. Some they manage for us. But we need to make sure you have an even better citizen experience. I'm glad it got cut right before you came. So.
Okay, I just want, you know, I think it should be brought to your attention that
Yes, ma'am.
it's lacking.
We got to figure out, particularly in that
they've talked to
issue.
me.
Yes, ma'am.
They've given me numbers,
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
And I did email to be in the committee for the Citizens Advisory. So I'm waiting to hear from that.
Is that for the police department, or which Ms.
For the community.
We can get
Community
Ms.
advisor.
Gleaton? Ms.
that's
Gleaton?
it.
Who is Ms. Gleaton?
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
that would be
Yeah.
community development.
I sit and, you know, because they're asking for people to do this, so I did. So it would be nice if those people would get back to you in a timely manner.
Absolutely. And and obviously we have a number of opportunities to get involved on boards and commissions too. So Ms. Belton runs that process. So keep your eyes open for other. Wave your hand, Ms. Belton. Just wave it for opportunities to get involved. And if you need me, call 777-9311. Okay.
That's a song, isn't it? Thanks for hearing me out.
We're gonna get you involved now. Now you're here. We're gonna get you involved. We're gonna make sure that
I'm
happens.
a very involved
We want you. We
person.
want you involved.
Yes,
We want you involved.
yes. You-
But thank you for taking the time to come here and get us straight. We do appreciate it. God bless you. All right.
Dating yourself by using that
I'm
number.
I embrace my age now. I'm good.
I'm 63.
You look a lot better than I do, so thank God. You got good genes. Good
These
genes.
matters do matter to me.
Absolutely,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for being here. All right, if there's nothing else for the good of the order, is there a motion to adjourn? Move to second, discussion, move the previous question, clerk call the roll.
Mr. McDowell?
Yes.
Mr. Duval?
Aye.
Mr. Vine? Aye. Mr. Davis? Mayor Benjamin?
Aye. And Marshall, thanks again for coming, brother, all right? Yeah, absolutely. Come up here. Let's take it by the flags.